Alright, ramping up to another Darrell as a Service live show. Just checking a few things. For those of you who are beginning to join me in the next 5 minutes, you might hear a little rain in the background. I have quite a thin office roof. It's just a partition of a sunroom, and we've been having a lot of heavy rain lately in Auckland, so I feel like I'm doing a weather show right now. So yeah, hopefully, and I think this is still coming through clearly because I've got a good mic, but you might have some background noise there of heavy raindrops on my roof. So all good. Yeah, let's see if we can reach out and pull in some other friends and contacts from YouTube Live via Facebook. Not too bad. It's been a quiet week in my message center. I'll get into it when I'm getting into the show, but it's I've got a few announcements, and that's why I wanted to show a little more about Microsoft Teams and things that are coming up in a short while with general availability. Without getting into too much of the NDA stuff and the other things that are going to be released on the day, but there are some cool things you can do with it right now. So raindrops keep falling on my head, that's for sure. Been trying to get a few other people to join us on the regarding Office 365 shows as well. So regarding Office 365 is a publication that I'm running together with a number of different writers, thought leaders, industry leaders as well, who all work within the Office 365 space, and we've got stories to tell and things to relate to, so it's a good place to read some of those posts. Some of our writers are blogging in other places, and then they can pull their posts in. But what I'm trying to do also is enrich that experience by also doing interviews based on the content that they might be writing, and we can talk a little more about what they've discovered and their story. And we also managed to get some people from Microsoft or people within the industry on the show too, to discuss with us some of the things that they've been working on or things that have been released. And so one of the things for regarding Office 365 that we're hoping to get on the show next week is Dan Stevenson, who is one of the product marketing managers on the Microsoft Teams team. So yeah, looking forward to getting that confirmed and doing the interview there with him, with Laurie and Strant, maybe a couple of others as well, and hopefully a live audience that has a bunch of questions as well. So we're looking to get that on. So we're coming up to a couple of minutes out from the Office 365 Message Center the week that was, so we'll be starting shortly. Looks like my stream's going through reasonably well. Dropped frames, crap really, 662 drop frames, 14%. This might not be coming through very smooth. We'll see how we go. Can I blame it on the weather? Maybe. So I'm giving that weather report. Okay, so we'll see how we're going. Not too far off. We'll be live in a minute. Yeah, stream health is... For those of you who might be interested, I'm using OBS Studio software, using that to stream out, and there are various different dials and things that you can in turn and try and fine-tune your stream to make sure that it's coming through clearly. Now, what I'm finding with this is currently I'm seeing a few drop frames. Bit of audio might be a bit funny, I don't know, but we'll go back and have a look at that later. Stream health is yellow and not green. Woohoo! Anyway, so we're coming up to 7 o'clock. There we go. So it's Office 365, the Message Center, the week that was. You're with Darrell as a Service Webster, and I'm taking you through some of the Message Center announcements or things within the Message Center that I saw this week. And I'm really trying to bring an awareness around the Message Center that us as IT pros who are managing Office 365 tenants, we really do need to go in there and have a good look at what's going on, because there is a lot of effort that's been put into this Message Center to keep us informed, to deliver some specific announcements and messages that are for your tenants, and not only that, the wider general stuff that's rolling out too. So you will see messages in there that are all about planning for change, staying informed, various different notifications of planned outages. So this is really an awareness show, and it's also, as I've said on a couple of other shows as well, it's also a way of me keeping myself up to date and doing that, being accountable for you to you as the community. So we'll take that that task and keep at it. So here I am at 7 o'clock in the morning down here in New Zealand. I'm enjoying my Saturday. Some of you are still on your Friday right now. And sometimes what I see here is the messages will appear throughout my Saturday as well, because Microsoft does roll things out at the end of their week. So I've got 3 messages to walk our way through. I'll just display that on the screen. And you know what? As something of a way of leading into what I'm going to talk about later on with Microsoft Teams, I'm going to be a little cheeky. Rather than presenting the Message Center in the way that it is, I'm going to present it within Microsoft Teams. Interesting. So we'll lead into that later on. But I have loaded up the Admin Center within a tab within Microsoft Teams. So we're looking at the first... No, we didn't. I jumped through there because I was interested in that earlier. Let's start from the bottom. Now, I'm the sort of person that likes to read first in, first out, or first in, first responded. So I like to read my messages going up from the inbox after a quick scan, and I do that with my messages as well, because I want to see things that I should be aware of that may have been announced earlier. So we have a feature update to Yammer. Now Yammer Analytics, more of those analytics are being brought into Office 365. You will see in the Message Center that you've got various line graphs to show the usage of what Office 365 is, how Yammer is being used. Let me just flick back out to the Admin Center, and we'll have a look at the home. So if I wanted to get into some of those reports about usage, then I can take a look at the various different services that are running. We've got Yammer in dark green there, and it's also a panel further down here. So you might be going into this and having a regular look to see how different workloads are being used within your tenants, to make sure that people are making good use of their OneDrive, or are they how active is Skype for Business, how active is Yammer. So there have been some of these stats coming in more recently. Oh, my usage is up 407%. This is a demo tenant, so I've been doing a bit of work in it, and of course the usage would have bolstered. So if we click on through to having a look at more of that detail, then I can drill down and I can see who is actually being active, and not surprisingly it's myself and a demo user that are being active in that sense. But that's not quite what we're looking at when it comes to the announcement there. So the analytics that are being pulled further into Office 365, let's have a look here. It says the Yammer Analytics dashboard in 30 days, other sections, members, messages, groups, files. So more detail is going to be coming into this report. So it just means that where you used to, if you use Yammer and you used to look at these sorts of reports within the Yammer dashboards, within the Yammer platform itself, then you need to begin to look at these reports within Office 365 and within the Admin Center there. Now, one thing I haven't got access to, and I think it's in like a closed preview at the moment, is making use of Power BI to grab those statistics and look at it in more of an interactive fashion. rather than the static graphs that you get, and you can click around a few things. So there are a few people that I know that are trialing that. Probably should try and get myself on the trial when it gets opened up a bit more. There is a little preparation work to do that, and of course it's not just Yammer, but it's across the board with a number of the different services. So that Power BI dashboard will help you get some deeper analytics about how the services have been used. But yeah, I'm quite surprised actually, like that even within the Yammer service there, I can go through and see who has been active. Because I realise that in some countries you can't do that level of reporting, so it's interesting to see that it's there in my tenant. So maybe it's just a regional thing or a country-based thing based on the tenant that I'm in and my location that I've chosen. So with all of these announcements, with all of these Message Center alerts, there's some very clear headings. How does this affect me? What action do I need to take? In this case, the action is start looking in the Office 365 Admin Center for all your Yammer analytics. Very good. Working our way back up the list. So our personalized news for SharePoint homepage. Now, you might see some of you might be using the new modern home pages in SharePoint. These are really good. I like them. They're much easier for the regular information worker to add content on the page. It feels very much like a medium experience, or if you use LinkedIn for blogs, you just add a box of text, you add a picture, a video, something to embed, and also the web parts that are available in SharePoint are easily added to the page in that way. Now, one of those things, I think we'll just have a look at one of those examples. There we go. I do have a home page that, as an example. This home page, just covering off there. Hopefully these drop frames aren't killing my stream. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. The news, the new news add-in or news web part functionality within the modern web page is making use of a page library in the background. I think it's the same page library that you use to present different pages within your team site. So we have a couple of different web parts that are available to present those pieces of news, but this one that's defaulted on the page is really showing you the most recent 4 articles, and then it's very easy to add new content to that news web part and page, and keeping people informed. So I like it because it still makes it feel like much of a blog experience. So an announcement might be big win for sales today, and then adding some text. You can go through and add the different web parts that are available. I wanted to call them page parts because they feel more like part of the page, and yeah. But anyway, it's gonna continue to be called web parts, and you can add your text as well. So that's pretty simple. Go internet. Okay. Today we won a huge contract. Various different formatting available. Normal text and headings. Getting into embedding images. Very simple to go off and pick up content from your own computer, from a site, linking off and using references. So we won't step through all the different features there because that's been out for a little while. But actually, yes, we'll add one image. We'll try and upload something. Find something. Hey, that'll do. Add the image, because we want to make these news articles a little more attractive than just a headline. So yeah, we'll go through that. Oh, thanks. Hey, Daniel. Daniel Gillen and I having a discussion about coffee BI earlier. We think that it's about choosing an intelligent or a capable barista, making sure that it's good quality coffee. So we'll save that, publish it. Okay, so where this announcement kicks in is that these new news pages and news articles, that if you come back to your home page, that's going to be the first article there, that as you're going to your SharePoint homepage, you're going to be able to see this article eventually. It's going to be discovered by the Microsoft Graph, which knows what sites you belong to and the activity that you have and things that you're interested in. And then you'll be able to go up here to SharePoint Home, and don't think I have it quite yet in my tenant. It's just announcing, saying be aware it is coming. And also I think there's going to be like a search indexing delay thing here, so if I've just created an article, I don't expect it to appear here immediately. But you will see a space along the top there, just above frequent, of some of the recent news articles that have been written within the sites that you follow and the sites you belong to. Now that experience is also going to be on the mobile app, as I understand too. So you'll go to the SharePoint app and you'll be able to get a roll up of all the news that you can see across these sites. So, you know, I really like the direction that SharePoint Online is going, because it makes it far easier for the regular office worker, information worker, to create content, to interact with it. They don't have to think about whacking web parts on the page and adjusting a whole lot of settings over on the right hand panel, but they're adding this content here. And news is going to be you know, just another way to broadly communicate with your team and with people across the organization. So I think where I see this fitting in, as far as news is concerned, and I'm talking about this internally with who I work with and various different you know, customers and contacts as well, is that there is still a need for an intranet. There is still a need for communicating broadly, and also having some broad buckets of information that people can dip into and you know, draw from and watch or consume. And that's public information internally within your organization. And then you've got these other smaller collaborative experiences for your department, for projects, for different teams that spin up, special interests. That's all going to be taken care of by the various different flavors of Office 365 groups: Outlook, Yammer, and Microsoft Teams. Now, how are my drop frames going? Shocking. Interesting. Okay, so I might be coming across pretty blurry. Maybe you can adjust your quality of the video up to HD, but we'll see how we go. Okay, so that's the additional announcement there around the news, personalized news. What do you need to do for change? How does it affect you? Just means that you're going to see it appear and start to appear on that SharePoint homepage. And finally, our third message or announcement: enterprise mobility plus security support. See there, we built a support experience for customers with the following subscriptions. So if you do have enterprise mobility security and Active Directory Premium, then you're going to see some new experiences and support beginning 14th of March. Okay. I haven't really looked a lot into this, so perhaps that's where I should really click through to additional information and try and find out a bit more about that. But what we are seeing is more of these services being brought into some of the common administration experiences. So I think I expect to see there that some of the Azure Directory and Azure Information Protection technical issues, you'll get new support capabilities with purchasing a support plan. So really it's around offering additional support rather than just your default, and not really seeing or getting like a 24-hour response or email-based support. So that's cool. Alright, so that I wanted to show you, and I have been demonstrating this in a sense by showing you the Admin Center from within Microsoft Teams. And one of the things that there's a number of things being released into the Microsoft Teams experience as they ramp up to general availability next week. But one that has been around for some time, been able to add the tab for a website. So just as a quick recap, Microsoft Teams is your chat-based collaboration experience. So if you like the quick-fire chat and you want to be able to have that more real-time but persistent chat constant stream that you use for communication, it's really good for teams that work at that kind of pace. And you're also able to go back and read some of those previous messages. So if we just click on through here, we've got the conversations area, and there's that constant stream of IMs and chats between people. You can reply to the various messages as well as part of those threads. And then your reading experience of how do you catch up with all of these things afterwards is really your activity center. So where people are dropping in, they're mentioning you within messages, they might mention the whole channel or the whole team, then you're going to be getting alerts up here in the activity center, and then you can work through things. So this feed, think of it as your inbox, and just like we did with the message center, we can work our way up based on the most recent messages, first in last out, or first in first out, depends on how you read it. So that's our feed. We can filter based on, I only want to look at messages that are mentioning me, so you can tidy that up. And you can also have a look at just team activity or my activity. So this really becomes the new inbox. Okay, so that's Teams, that's the conversation piece of things. We have an area for files and collaborating on things with the file side of it. So that's kind of cool that you're able to upload files, and in the background it's all running on SharePoint Online, so you can go through to that full team site experience. And just for those who want to just remain in this Teams experience and just get in and open files, work on them, co-author, adjust things, then you can remain in this Teams experience and use the Office Online capabilities, again staying within Teams or opening up in your full Office applications. So and you can do that on mobile too, so that's pretty cool. We have our OneNote notebook, and then let's get back to our team that we were demonstrating various things from. That was our leadership Ask Me Anything. So my concept with this group was it's a group that people can come in and ask the leadership in much the same way that you might do that with Yammer, that you invite people to come in and ask questions of the CEO and have that more open conversation. So we have our leadership AMA, files, notes. Now what I got into doing was looking at what else can I expose with the websites tab. So if I just open that up, we can name our tab whatever. Okay, so you don't want to just leave it website. It's going to reflect the name of what you're trying to bring in. You need to paste in a URL which begins with HTTPS. It has to be SSL, so it's all nice and secure. And you can post a message out to the conversation area of your team to start a conversation and say, hey, I've brought this tab in, is this going to be useful, what do you think, would you like to see anything else, and continue that conversation thread about the new tab. So we have those capabilities. Now what I have done is put together a few interesting examples of how this might look. We have the Sway tab, which I thought was quite useful. Now you are able to create a document within the files area of your team and pin that as a tab. Now that could be a PowerPoint from the most recent team meeting, which has a number of different things you might need to cover off. It might be a important policy or Word document that we're having to focus on as a team. So pinning these sorts of things along the top means it's nice and easy for people to find, and it gives us focus. We can jump into our team, we can get on with the work that's most important to us, and we have all the information available to us and all the different tabs that we might use. Being driven by conversation, of course. So this is a Sway. This is a Sway that we can bring in, and this is, I guess, an alternative to having that PowerPoint in there. But remember, Sway also allows you to embed a lot of different live content, and because Microsoft Teams is driven by live content, and it is, much of it is you have to be online to see it, then this is quite a good way to bring in content as well. So this was the Sway that I created when I was at Microsoft Ignite in Atlanta, and we were looking at the announcements around OneDrive. So you can bring in various different photos, but what I began to do during my during my sitting there in the audience was I began to capture things via tweets, and then doing short video recordings via tweets as well, so that people could follow along that Twitter journey, and I've been able to bring it all together using the Sway. Now if you can see some potential there for for your teams to be able to bring that content together. Maybe do some of your team presentations via SWAGG, or just even use this as a living document of a way to bring in the live content into there. So it's really quite as simple as using that website tab and getting the link through to that SWAGG. One thing that you want to be mindful of is that, let's have a look over here, I'm bringing that SWAGG through from my own account. So when you want to be able to adjust that content, it's not something that belongs to the team. We don't have this concept yet of a team SWAGG. I haven't looked into it. Maybe I could share the SWAGG with a team. Don't know. Maybe it's as simple as going up here and saying, invite people to edit, use. Yeah, I could look at some of those options there. But I can keep it within my organization. I can publish a edit link, and I wouldn't really embed or put that edit link on the tab unless it's a SWAGG that we're all working together as a team to present to the wider company. So the experience is grabbing that link and going back on over to Teams and adding it. So pretty simple. One other thing that I brought in, and this is the way that I was presenting the admin center, was you can grab the link through to a team site. Now, yes, Microsoft Teams comes with its own team site. So if you're working together as a team and you're wanting to, of course, the document side of it uses the document library, and maybe you want to have a team that's private. But let's say you wanted to create a public intranet, just quite a shallow one with all the different departments, and if I want to know what's going on in the sales team or in the HR team or what's been developed or what's in products, then I can go to that level. I can see that public information that the department wants to share. So bringing this in, the public site versus the private collaborative site, I can bring that content in, and then my team can see what's going on, and they might be able to from here start to contribute to it, start to maybe look at an embedded Yammer conversation group there, so it's providing the wider conversation to the organization. So yeah, one way to do that. And what I was doing there when I was cheating was I was just going through to the admin center and loading that up within Microsoft Teams. Now let's be a little cheeky here. One thing that I wouldn't mind seeing, and I think this almost closes the gap for Teams in a sense, is being able to answer my email from within Teams. I wouldn't mind being able to have a tab over there or a section over there on the left, just underneath files, that's open up Outlook web access. Now we can do that. It is a slightly slower experience as I'm doing this, but you'll see here that I can open up Outlook web access. Yeah, that's cool. I won't click into too many of these messages, but yeah, you get the idea. I can go through and I can jump into my calendar, and I can basically answer all the email as I need it. Now, the cool thing about being able to have your whole email experience within Teams as well is that I truly then don't really need to have to leave the Teams experience, unless, like me, you might have the occasional online meeting which you need to bring in someone from the public, and partners, customers, webinars. But yeah, I think that in that sense, Teams is beginning to help us consume more of Office 365, because it's bringing it together in one place to collaborate and focus, rather than having to click on something or know that, oh, where's my intranet? Oh, I'll need to go up here to the SharePoint homepage and then go find it. That Teams, you can pin things along the top, and you're naturally also using some of the wider pieces of Office 365. So very cool there. Looks like that's been quite useful in terms of the Outlook side of it. Now the final tab that I'll look at, which I added in as a experiment was Yammer, and I know that there's a couple of add-ins that people have developed. How's my drop frames looking? 12%. I think I'm probably coming through pretty damn blurry. The Yammer experience, that you can add these add-ins and get like the focused group of Yammer, and being able to have those conversations wider and across the company. But here we have the Yammer group, and I have homed it into that group. If you have a look at my settings here, I've actually grabbed the whole URL for the group feed, and that's just loading the group as a default to start with. Now it's a little slow to my liking, but it's okay. I mean, the idea is that I can go in here and I can, if this is a public group and I'm wanting to get feedback from across the organization about a certain product, or they've got questions of our department that they want to have answered, and we want to have an open conversation rather than something across a distribution list, then here's the conversations, and you can go in and read all that history. So this is one way to bring that into the team's experience, is having that team as a tab and going through and look, here it is, I can respond to it, and as a team we're responding and being part of that conversation without having to leave the team's experience. I know that there's been a better job done that with the add-in that's been blogged about. I forget where that came from, but that maybe that experience is going to improve and feel more like a native experience, like this one, where we know that behind Teams is the SharePoint site, but there has been a layer built over the top of this to give us the capability of interacting with it in a more native fashion within Teams. So Yammer might come through in that fashion too. Alright, so that's about it. Not too jazzed with my streaming this morning. I do have my settings dialed down, but it seems like there's been a few drop frames. So I get different response and different quality of experience. Sometimes when I'm using Facebook Live, it's much better. Periscope's pretty rock solid. I'm just finding that the YouTube Live experience is a little jittery, and apparently it's not just necessarily because of my streaming capabilities, but because the platform sometimes is a little slow in picking things up. So that was the Message Center for the week ending March 10th, if you don't count the weekend. It's my March 11th. Thanks for tuning in, and hopefully this has been helpful, and I will continue to do this as an accountability to myself and to you, to check the Message Center. Let's go back to the Message Center. Keep checking that Message Center home, because there is messages in there that are specific to your tenant, your needs. It's going to keep you up to date with how things are going. So in my fashion, at the end of this show, I'm now going to go, yep, I have read all those. Mark has read. And I'm also going to, where is that archive button? Dismiss these messages. Boom. Keeping it nice and tidy. Keeping it down to Office Message Center Box 0. Because I don't do very well with that in Outlook. So thanks everyone, we'll catch you again next week. Bye for now.